Okay, I think we'll get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tim Parker. I'm the president and CEO of the Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin. And today we have a donors forum with 3 projects that we'll present to you today. And they are all organizations and projects that we're sponsoring with them. We have 3 of them, like I mentioned. We're going to give them each 20 minutes to present and field questions and answers. And those 3 projects are the Marathon County Forensic Science Center, the Wausau Elks Lodge Building Rehab Project, and then the Pelican River Forest Conservation Project. So we're going to start off today with the Forensic Science Center, and we have Jessica Blahnik and Sarah Severson here. So I'll let you go ahead and kick off your presentation.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Jessica Blahnik, and I'm the medical examiner for Marathon County. Let me just give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties here. There we go. All right, so thank you so much for the opportunity to present today. We greatly appreciate your time. I am Jessica, like I mentioned, and my partner Sarah will present during the second half of our presentation. And you can please move the next slide. So a regional forensic science center serves as a comprehensive and multifaceted institution that goes beyond the traditional role of a morgue. While its primary function is a meticulous and professional handling of forensic matters, it surpasses its fundamental governmental responsibility of providing death investigation services. It not only maintains the highest standards in forensic science and ensures a dignified handling of the deceased, but it also actively contributes to society's well-being by providing comprehensive services. Next slide, please. The center offers more than a morgue services thanks to its strong educational component. It brings together North Central Technical College, the Medical College of Wisconsin, UW-Stevens Point, and K-12 partners to create educational pathways from high school to support workforce needs in forensic science, pathology, public safety, healthcare, and mortuary science. Students will experience hands-on, real-world learning in a single, unique space. Furthermore, there is opportunity to enrich existing curricula and expand programs to better equip students for future workforce requirements. Additionally, the center will provide advanced training for death investigators, law enforcement personnel, prosecutors, emergency medical service providers, and healthcare professionals through hosting conferences and seminars, which are traditionally not available in our region. And then the center aims to facilitate the readiness of communities to deliver comprehensive services in the event of a mass fatality incident. This will alleviate the burden on affected families while ensuring the dignified treatment of the deceased. Notably, the center will be the only facility in North Central Wisconsin equipped to handle such situations, as there is presently no comparable facility. We would extend mutual aid and assistance to regional counties facing such events to alleviate the strain on local resources. And then preparedness not only involves having the appropriate facilities, but also ensuring that personnel are well trained to address the unique challenges presented by mass fatality situations. The center will host training events for the region to better prepare for response efforts. With the increase of events happening nationally, it is essential for our region to unite and prepare for an event that could occur in any community. Next slide, please. Our office assists families during the most heart-wrenching moment of their lives when they experience a sudden or traumatic death of a child, sibling, parent, or close friend. Currently, we lack the necessary resources and facilities to properly support these families and loved ones during their distressing times. The Regional Forensic Science Center will empower my team to provide enhanced services for these families by incorporating trauma-informed care approaches. The facility will feature dedicated areas for family meetings and a grief garden where they can reflect on their loved one. Beyond the physical spaces, my team will be better equipped to respect religious and cultural practices. We will also be able to properly prepare the deceased for family viewings, a service we currently cannot offer. And most importantly, the center allows us to care from the family from a holistic perspective, facilitating their healing process. Next slide, please. Currently in North Central Wisconsin, there's a lack of dedicated space for tissue procurement, leading to various challenges for procurement organizations and sometimes limiting an individual's ability to donate. It is estimated that a single tissue donor can positively impact the lives of over 75 recipients, and there are 2.5 million tissue transplants annually in the United States. The Regional Forensic Science Center will feature dedicated space for tissue procurement to enhance the eligibility of decedents. My team is equally dedicated to advocating for donation and delivering educational programs to the community, students, and existing providers. Our ultimate goal is to honor the wishes of the decedent and their families regarding donation, offering the family a reassurance that their loved one's contribution has positively impacted the lives of the recipients. Next slide, please. Marathon County is the ideal geographic location to support a regional forensic science center. We are centrally located in the state, in contrast to all the other autopsy providers situated in the eastern and southern part of the state, as you can see in the map. We benefit from the intersection of two major highway systems, allowing for easier commutes for the northern region to the center. Additionally, we house a branch of the Crime Lab of Wisconsin, with the only other locations in the state being in Madison and Milwaukee, in addition to a branch of the Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigation. Marathon County is also the most populated county in the region, having the largest medical examiner's office, which can easily expand its staffing and resources to support this type of facility. Marathon County is the only county in the region with these features that make it the ideal location. Next slide, please. We are grateful for our incredible community partners who have played a vital role in advancing this project. Since the beginning, both healthcare systems have provided invaluable guidance and support as we explore the feasibility of the center. They are ready to assist with pathologist recruitment, laboratory services, and physician specialist consultation, which will support our future pathologist. NTC and the Medical College of Wisconsin expressed their great enthusiasm for educational opportunities that the center will provide to their students. This will involve enhancing their current curricula and expanding their programming. Lastly, the tissue procurement organizations are eager to have a dedicated centralized location for donations, which will result in an increased number of successful donors. Next slide, please.
All right, thank you, Jess. We have made significant progress on our fundraising efforts for the facility, securing $10 million to date, with an additional $2 million in congressional directed spending pending at the federal level. However, despite these successes, we are still nearly $3 million short of our $14.8 million goal. Funding awarded to date includes a $7 million allocation from the State of Wisconsin Building Commission. It's important to note that this funding is contingent on us raising the other $7.8 million needed to bring the project to fruition. A $2 million allocation of ARPA funds by the Marathon County Board of Supervisors, and a generous $1 million gift from the BA and Esther Greenheck Foundation. We have secured funding for the areas primarily used to provide mandated government services. All grant and donor funds will be allocated towards construction costs of areas that go beyond government regulations to ensure this facility is more than a morgue. Next slide, please. Ensuring the facility's sustainability for the years to come has been at the forefront of our work since the Regional Morgue Task Force was formed in 2017. As a result, the task force commissioned a feasibility study and business plan to determine whether a center would be sustainable in a prudent use of resources. These studies concluded that expanding the current medical examiner's office to encompass the Regional Forensic Science Center is a viable long-term solution. While the cash flow analysis conducted as part of the business plan indicated that the center's operations would be cash flow neutral with the potential for additional revenue in high volume scenarios, the center's operations could not support a debt payment. Simply stated, our capital campaign is raising money for the construction and implementation of the facility, not ongoing operations. I'd also like to note that the operation of this facility will not require additional tax levy. Marathon County will continue to contribute approximately $515,000 annually for operations, just as it does for the medical examiner's office today. Next slide, please. This facility will not be possible without the generous support of our community. Our team is working diligently to close the $2.8 million funding gap by year end in order to begin construction in 2024. All donors will be recognized on the donor wall within the facility and in the community grief garden located adjacent to the facility. Additionally, we do have naming rights available for select spaces within the facility. With your support, the Regional Forensic Science Center can truly serve as a transformative force in the community, enriching the lives of countless individuals and families in Wisconsin and beyond. Next slide, please. At this time, we will take questions. I do also want to mention that if you'd like a more in-depth presentation or interested in having us present to your group, please reach out to us directly and we would be happy to do so. Thank you.
Okay, do we have questions for them? It is Monday morning. Somebody has a question though. All right. Well, feel free to contact the foundation or to contact them directly if you do have more questions and want to learn more. It's a fascinating project, and hopefully people will study it a little bit more. And this is being recorded, so other people will be seeing this after the fact. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Well, our second presenter is the Wausau Elks Lodge, number 248, their Centennial Building Rehab Project. And we have Jerry Melvin here to present that project. Jerry?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jerry Melvin. I am one of the officers of the Wausau Elks Lodge. I've also been a part of the committee gathering the information we need and going through the building to see what is needed for our interior refurbishment project. Next slide. A little bit about the Wausau Elks. The Wausau Elks Lodge was founded in 1895. The picture you see there is actually our groundbreaking. That church in the background is still standing. There was a house there prior we were using for meeting space, and when they had, I believe that actually had a fire, they were rebuilding and raised money to build what you see now. The construction of the building began in 1923, so we just are at that 100-year mark. The outdoor refurbishment we did complete in 2019, and the elevator was added in 2020 or on the year 2000. The current membership stands at about just over 500 members. Since the inception of our organization in Wausau, $5.3 million has been donated to the Wausau community in our 128-year history. Grants and scholarship donations. So just since last year into this year, we are at $51,000 given directly back into the Wausau community. Various areas of support, veteran support, area scholarships. Last year, we awarded a scholarship, several of them. One of them in particular had gone on and it, won an additional $20,000. We were very excited that it was the largest scholarship our organization has ever given out in Wausau. We have our Good Fellowship program, which is about 130 children in the Wausau area. Members go out and sponsor families, and then the lodge buys about equivalent to $130 in new clothing for these kids. And then early December, there's several Santa Clauses with these groups that come out and deliver these with a meal for the family, and it is just outstanding. This is my third year adopting a family. We have drug awareness programs that we actively work through, local food pantry support, and several area nonprofit support. Some more recent ones would be Gigi's Playhouse, the Hagar House, Bridge Street Mission, and the Veterans Cup of Coffee group that have their own organization that meet weekly. They've all been some local recipients of some of our grants and scholarships and support. Next slide. Okay, so for the project's purpose was to ensure the organization can remain competitive in assisting Wausau in providing a historic venue with modern amenities for holding events, business meetings, weddings, and be an overall service to the community. As we were going through the building to seeing, what would be the priorities, we started in the main dining room. So that's our phase one. Next slide. So the main dining room, the carpeting will be getting replaced. The dance floor that you can see there will get refinished. That's an old parquet floor. Updated lighting, repainting the room, the bathrooms, and the bar, which is in the other room, updating those walls and the sound system. And getting we've had weddings and whatnot in this room to where feedback we've received was getting either a projector system or a large TV. For the size of the room, usually a large TV would probably work. And then chair covers. We do have newer chairs, but there are some chairs where they're sound, but with chair covers on them, to get more use out of them. Next slide. And for our phase two is for the grand ballroom improvements, which is repair to some old water damage from ceiling tiles and walls. The water damage itself was addressed years ago, and now we just need to kind of circle back to some of the ceiling and the wall on the on the west side of the ballroom. There is an entryway into the ballroom that has carpeting that will need to be replaced, updating and replacing the sound system, replacing there's about 20 tables that need replacing. They're just really old and heavy. Replacing the risers that usually go in front of the stage or out for weddings. They had put a television set. I think it's gonna be that or a projection system for presentations. And then there are, with the chandeliers next to them, there are these 6 mercury lighting fixtures that will need to get upgraded with LED. Next slide. And then the phase 3 improvements is kind of various areas of the lodge. So repairs to the elevator. The elevator is in working order. It just needs, there is signs of needing to get repacked. That'll be coming up in the next couple of years that we'll need to do. Replacing the front lobby and foyer carpeting. You can see the carpeting that is there. It's still in fairly good condition, but it's showing signs of need to be replaced. Refinishing the ballroom floors. The floors are in really good condition, but they could be just up for a refurbishment of it. And then updating the drapery on stage and the windows on both floors is what's coming up. Next slide. That is the last slide. So overall with the project is, it increases the use of the building. We always treat the nonprofits in town that need meeting space or building space for various events, also weddings and whatnot. This kind of helps drive the lodge with the fundraising efforts and helps us continue to provide for the future by keeping the look of the building, but then giving it some modern amenities will help carry it into the next 100 years.
Great. I failed to mention after the first presentation, if you do have a question, make sure you unmute yourself. And it's possible that somebody could have asked something and didn't unmute their Zoom here. So we'll open up questions about the Elks Lodge. And if you did want to ask one about the first presentation, we can go ahead and answer those questions too. Any questions that people want to ask?
Yeah, this is Carla Kiefer. Jerry, do you plan to do any visuals of what the new space will look like with any of these updates, especially those that are, more visible? Some of the stuff behind the scenes, like the, lighting and projectors, that's not as important to see, but what's the plan for that?
Well, I know that I've been working with the Historical Society on photos of like the day that the lodge was opened, and having some photos of other refurbishments that had been done over time. And there will be definitely. I would like to put together a slideshow of kind of as the work is in action and showing kind of before and afters as we go.
Mhm. Are you getting either an interior design company or someone involved to guide you guys through this process?
Absolutely. Randy from Evolutions Design has volunteered his time to come in and has given us a lot of insight of kind of some do's and don'ts. And we've been taking a lot of his advice, and he's been staying open communication with us and willing to help us through the entire process.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much, Jerry. We'll move on to the third presenter now, and this is from the Conservation Fund. The project name is Pelican River Forest Conservation Project. And today we have Clint Miller, who's the regional director, and Jolie Krasinski on the call.
Hey, thanks, Tim. I appreciate it, and want to thank you and your staff for hosting us today, especially Kelly, who's running the slides for me. I appreciate that. I'm going to move us outdoors a little bit. We've had two projects talking about buildings and infrastructure and programs, more metro programs. I'm going to move us outside and talk about a project that has connectivity and that really helps preserve over millions of acres of forest land just outside of Marathon County in Oneida County. So first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name is Clint Miller. I'm the Upper Midwest Regional Director for the Conservation Fund. Don't shame me. I am located in Rochester, Minnesota. I was cheering for the Packers yesterday. I'm very sad about the outcome of that game, and quite frankly, the Packers season. And then also was very disappointed by the Badgers on Saturday. I am a native Wisconsinite, have been working throughout the Midwest for the Conservation Fund for over 16 years. And my colleague Jolie is based just over the border in Illinois. Again, don't shame her for that. She works throughout the region, and Chicago is a good base for her. We are a national organization that has really local impacts, and I'll talk a little bit about that. We have actually a dual mission: natural resource-based economic development and land conservation. Where those two pieces come together is a really comfortable place for us to be. So really what we do is real estate and financing for conservation projects, or for properties and places that people want to preserve. We've helped protect over almost 9 million acres across the United States, and over 700 of those projects are working lands and conservation easement transactions. Next slide, please. In Wisconsin, we've got actually a pretty long history. In fact, one of the longest running programs at the Conservation Fund is the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District Project, which is a partnership with the sewage district, where we are helping protect the upper watershed of the Milwaukee River to reduce infiltration into their single pipe system. So really what it does is help the sewage district minimize their costs by preserving green space upstream, helping infiltration of water into the system. Therefore, they don't have to build the gray infrastructure, the treatment plants, to be able to treat their sewage. We've done 35 projects across Wisconsin with partners like Wisconsin DNR, the Fish and Wildlife Service, local land trusts, and a lot of work with local governments. One of the largest pieces of work that I do is with local governments. We've done 5 working forest fund projects in Wisconsin. That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. And the latest one being in the Twin Lakes, our Twin Lakes project, which is up in Iron County. Next slide, please. So the Conservation Fund takes a pretty business-like approach to what we do because we are competing in a very, very business-like environment. So for those of you, certainly in the Wausau region, you know the long history of forest lands in Wisconsin, but also in the United States, where we are losing those forest lands at a rapid pace. There's over 10 million acres of forest lands are going to disappear in the next decade throughout the United States, and primarily due to a pattern of forest loss called parcelization and fragmentation, where the properties, these large industrial forest lands, those that are not protected already, either in state or federal hands or local government's hands, are being bought and then, usually cut in ways that aren't compatible for long-term sustainability, and then eventually parceled out into smaller and smaller pieces. Now, whether those pieces are 1 acre into residential lots, or whether they're in 1,000-acre or 10,000-acre lots, the size of city blocks or city regions within a city, that does have an effect on the ability to manage those properties. So that results in forest job loss and lack of biodiversity of wildlife, and it also affects clean water and clean air. So those properties across the country are being converted into non-forest uses. What the Conservation Fund does, and what we're trying to do, is trying to put a stop to that process in a very direct way. We acquire these lands, we manage these lands, we change the management on these lands, then we protect those lands, and I'll talk about that in a minute, and then we resell those lands back out into the private marketplace. So what we're doing, rather than creating new public land, we're using the private marketplace to be able to do what we do. So we're using our ability to work within that private space in order to accomplish a conservation task. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you about today is the Pelican River Forest. So we're calling the Pelican River Forest. So with this map, I'm going to orientate you. So you're down in Wausau, or most of you in Wausau, Marathon County. If you go straight north, you're going to get up into the Minocqua area. So at the top left most corner of this map, is just off the map, is the Minocqua area. Rhinelander is on the left side or the west side of that map. And if you go all the way over to the right side of the map, you see a little place called Pine Lake. And if you go south and sort of down to the lower right, that's in the Crandon area. So the colors you see on the map, the bright green colors, those are national forest and county forest. The brownish color or greenish color and the yellowish color, that is the Pelican River Forest. That is a 70,000 acre chunk of privately owned timberland. The Conservation Fund currently owns that land. If you were to orientate yourself, the Pelican Lake is down in the bottom of your screen, and then the Three Lakes area is up towards the north, Three Lakes and Eagle River area. The town of Monaco sits right smack in the middle of this property, and it's at the intersection of Highways 8 and Highway 45. So for those of you who are familiar with that part of Wisconsin, you'll know that there are oftentimes big chunks of endless forest. Well, this forest is connecting, it's a privately owned piece of forest connecting up huge millions of acres of public land. So it provides a unique wildlife corridor. The other thing that you'll see on this map in those bright blue colored lines on the map, that's the one on the right side of the map is the Wolf River, and the one on the left side of the map is actually the Wisconsin River that flows again through Wausau. This property lies right at the headwaters of both of those rivers and provides the initial clean water for much of the Wolf and the Wisconsin River. So that's the connectivity, or the map that I wanted to be able to orientate you to where this property is and where this project is. If I could have the next slide, please. So the Pelican River Forest, as I noted before, is a privately owned piece of property. And so those of you who are familiar with the forest industry in Wisconsin, you know that many of these private commercial industrial forests were owned by companies and essentially treated like public land for generations. A lot of the folks who hunt, fish, hike, or snowmobile or use ATVs would go up to these properties and be able to use them. And essentially the gates to the land would be open. They'd be able to do really just about anything that you wanted. And the timber companies that owned these, that was part of their community aspect, their community participation. Well, that has changed in the last several decades. That's partly what, not only are the gates being closed, the access being restricted to these properties, but the management them has changed as well. Not only are they responding to the timber industry changes, to the actual forest industry changes, but they're also responding to their investors, to the way they treat the lands. Oftentimes they either change the way the land is being managed, cut more timber or cut less timber, and then chop up the land afterwards and parcel it out and sell it into small blocks in order to maximize their revenue. The other thing that they're doing is they're closing off the land. So this particular property was sold to an investment group about a decade ago, and that group shut off access to the land, shut off the access to the roads on the land, and stopped working with the local snowmobile and ATV clubs in providing additional access. The property was still enrolled in the managed forest law in Wisconsin, which required it to be open for public access, but not convenient public access. So the Conservation Fund stepped in about 2 years ago. We acquired the property. We are working to open those roads. We are working on changing the management of that property to support more jobs in the forest industry, because healthy management of the forest requires forest practices. We have working with the snowmobile and ATV clubs to be able to establish new trails and access points, and we are working with to be able to permanently conserve those changes, make permanent changes to this property. And those permanent changes are codified in a legal document called a conservation easement. A conservation easement essentially are restrictions on the property that benefit certain conservation aspects or certain recreational aspects of the property. That legal document or those legal restrictions are held by somebody who can enforce that. In this case, we're working with the Wisconsin DNR to be able to do that. So we are placing permanent legal restrictions on the property that make sure the roads stay open, that the forest is available for logging, and it doesn't get chopped up into or parceled out into small pieces of parcels to be sold. That change is coming. We've worked on the phase 1 of the project. The second phase is ready to go, which is going to ensure all these changes are made. And what will happen after we've completed the conservation side of these legal restrictions, we'll resell the property, and the property will stay on the tax rolls. So it's like public land benefits without the burden of public ownership. So what we have at the end of the day, when we're completed with this project, will be a privately owned piece of property that has more than 70 miles of interior roads open to the public. We'll have ATV and snowmobile trails on the property, which will be open to the public. And we will have the protections in place to preserve the water quality and the air quality and the climate benefits of the property to the citizens of the state of Wisconsin. So in order to do that, we're raising money around this project, trying to fund the second phase of our conservation restrictions that we will then that will allow us to move forward with the final phase, which is the sale of the property. So we have a match opportunity right now, which is a real terrific setup to leverage funds. That's what we do at the Conservation Fund, is try to maximize our leverage. We've got a 1-to-1 match opportunity so folks can double their impact on the property. So that is my presentation. With that, I'd like to wrap it up, and if Jolie has any additional comments, I'm sure she'd be happy to provide those. So thanks, Tim, and Kelly and team. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions? We must have a thoughtful group today because they're a little bit quieter. But I know more questions will come up. And do we have any here on the call that want to ask a question right now? We're really excited for all of these 3 projects. They're all quite different, but they're all so important to our community. So even with the Pelican River Forest project, it's not in Marathon County, but we are the Community Foundation of North Central Wisconsin, and that geography for that forest land is right near our latest affiliate, the Boulder Junction Community Foundation. So it's pretty exciting to see the work being done there. Do we have any more
Tim?
questions?
Tim?
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation, Clint. I loved it. A question for you, with these conservation lands being sold to private owners, I assume there are restrictions and obligations that they take on in doing so. Is there, for example, a length of time within which they must promise to never introduce public uses that would be contrary, breaking it up into a subdivision, for example? What kind of obligations does that private purchaser take on in order for you to sell to them?
That's a terrific question, and I appreciate it. I did not delve into, because of the time here, I didn't delve into the details, but it's forever. So the simple answer is it's forever. The legal restrictions that we place on the property, it's called a conservation easement. A conservation easement is a legal document that says, hey, you can't do certain things, or you can do certain things that support these conservation values. That legal document is enforceable by the state statutes in Wisconsin, by the DNR. And not only do we have to adhere to that, but every single landowner forever has to adhere to it. That's why it's so important to be able to get those easement restrictions correct and make sure it's set up. So we leave behind a permanent restriction on land. So every other landowner that follows us has to adhere to those changes or those legal restrictions. So it's an excellent question. That's the whole just behind what we do. That means no parcelization, no, they have to maintain certain roads to be open to the public. We have to provide ATV, UTV access and snowmobile trail access, and we need to adhere to high quality practices for logging and for any kind of extractive opportunities that we have on the property. That everybody has to from now on and forever. So great question.
Invasive species, all of that, they need to take care of that. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Part of that is, in fact, that's all wrapped up in the management of the property. Our properties across the Conservation Fund adhere to the highest standards of certification. So we're certified through the SFI, or Sustainable Forest Initiative. So that means taking care of invasive species, making sure we've got buffers to the waterways, all of those things. And the easement requires you to be either SFI, or there's another one, another certification program, and having a management plan approved by the DNR. And all those all include those related to invasive species, but also the kind of timber management that you do. So yeah, great question.
Thank you, Clint.
You betcha.
Great question. Do we have any other questions? If you have one and you're muted, yeah. Oh, hi, Carla. Go ahead.
Hi. Yep, Tim, I have one for you. I've not joined one of these before. How do we get information on these projects sent to us after the fact?
We have this recorded, and what I would suggest is, if you would like information on this, let us know. You can let me know, or Sue or Kelly or anybody. Everybody in the office knows this call is going on right now. And then we can send you the information and connect you with the people who know the most, who are these people that are on the call today.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure. Oh, and there's a chat from, I'm guessing that's Kelly. Yes, we will send out info afterwards. So you're going to get an email, Carla.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Any other questions?
Well, I know that this was a quiet group, as you said, Tim, but this was a very nice way to get information on all these projects. So thank you.
Yes. Yeah, we enjoy doing it, and we're always happy to do this. We have a couple others scheduled in the near future here. So, but these are some timely and relevant projects that are happening right now, and of course, the fundraising for them is pretty critical at this phase for them. So.
Very good.
Good. Well, with what I see another chat maybe, unless that was the one Kelly sent. Let me double check. Nope, that was the one. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for presenting. Jessica, Sarah, Jerry, and Clint and Jolie, who was there for moral support and had all the answers if deeper questions came. So we appreciate them taking the time to present. We're always excited to connect you as donors with the projects that we're in the middle of right now. And you'll get as Kelly said, you'll get a correspondence after this meeting. And if you have more questions, feel free to call us, or if you know the individuals who presented, contact them directly if you'd like to, or we'll make that connection for you if you'd like. So once again, thank you for joining the Donors Forum. We'll give you back 17 minutes of your day, and we'll hope to talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Have a good day, everyone.